Stranger Things, a show that has captivated imaginations for the best part of a decade. Drawing inspiration from 1980s pop culture, Stranger Things utilised a clever blend of coming-of-age dramas like Stand By Me and The Goonies, mixed with 1980s inspired horror. For those of us who grew up in the 80s, it was a pure gut punch of nostalgia, but it also introduced a whole new audience to a time when music, TV, movies and life was just better. Over the past 4 seasons, we've fallen in love with relatable characters and their fantastical adventures. Season 5 was therefore an opportunity to give this much loved story the triumphant finale it so richly deserved. But if I'm nitpicking, there was just one tiny flaw in Series 5. It was bollocks. We're talking complete and utter wank. I mean jizz in Cameron Diaz's hair levels of absolute toss that you can barely comprehend. Stranger Things 4 took a lot of heat when it came out, but overall I liked it. After all, despite its faults, and there were some big ones, there were lots of things to like about it. It gave us the return of Yak and Hagar. It made Kate Bush the richest woman in the universe, and it also introduced Vecna, a proper throwback horror villain. So where did it all go wrong in Season 5? Firstly, Vecna underwent an extreme makeover. He looked completely different. In Series 4, the makeup effects were excellent. Vecna was repulsive and hideous. He was a Freddy Krueger-like child killer with the cold and calculating menace of Pinhead. But now, he's nothing more than a cheap Resident Evil knockoff. He's lost all menace and creepiness, and he's no longer the master villain. He's just a geeky whipping boy, content to ponce around stately mansions, throwing children's dinner parties. For the past few seasons, we've seen the screen time of the original cast drastically reduced to make way for the introduction of new characters, especially the 4 geeky kids who started the Stranger Things adventure. This was massively apparent in Season 4, but in this last incarnation, Dustin, Lucas and Michael may as well have not even bothered turning up. Mike is reduced to a motivational speaker, Dustin was a punchbag, and Lucas is nothing more than a DJ. During the Series 4 cliffhanger, we saw a split tear through the earth right down the centre of Hawkins, leading us to believe that the Upside Down would bleed into the real world. Nancy's vision would become flesh, and there would be all-out war in Hawkins, as demogorgons, demobats, and perhaps loads of new beasties ran riot through the town. Let's rock! I am sure this was the original concept for Series 5, but for whatever reason, this idea was canned, and instead we got this boring, monotonous, brain-dead dribble. What was the point of the military occupation? They had sweet FA impact on the story. And what happened to Linda Hamilton's character? And why did she become all reasonable at the end of the series, letting the Hellfire Club go after they had killed about 500 soldiers? They also got rid of all the monster horror in Series 5. They replaced it with a load of endless, deep and meaningful, sentimental sludge. There were far too many of these weepy, deep emotional scenes where everyone got way too sensitive and complicated. It doesn't matter if the world's about to end, just as long as Will has enough time to tell his friends that he likes boys. What was the point of this scene? It was comically cringe and completely out of place. We all knew Will was gay from the way he was behaving in Series 4. We didn't really need them to spell it out to us. Most of the dialogue was dreadful, and why did everyone feel the need to finish each other's sentences every time they're constructing a plan to defeat Vecna? If one of your mates did that to you down the pub, you'd clock 'em one, wouldn't you? The introduction of the Abyss was a good idea, but it was massively rushed, and the less said about the big fight, the better. It was very anticlimactic. Vecna was defeated in a blink and you'd miss it confrontation, and the Mind Flayer was an oversized crab who was less problematic than one you'd get diagnosed with down the sexual health clinic. Seriously, why was the show's ultimate bad guy more useless and less impervious to bullets than the Demogorgon in Series 1? What's really funny is the abundance of content creators on YouTube coming out of the woodwork with half-baked explanations as to why Vecna and the Mind Flayer were so useless. They weren't the only ones who were nerfed in Season 5. Even the Demogorgon now struggles to deal with bored housewives wielding broken bottles. If broken glass is a Demogorgon's kryptonite, they'd be well advised to steer clear of Glasgow pubs on a Friday night. Let's face it, the Duffer Brothers considered the big fight to be nothing more than a piffling inconvenience. They wanted it out of the way super quick, so they could spend another hour subjecting us to more gratuitous, histrionic, vomit-inducing mush. Also, why did no one die? After the absolute cowpat that was episodes 1 to 7, I was screaming out for some of these drooling whiners to get offed. They may as well have killed off Mike, Dustin and Lucas, given they did the square root of fuck all. In fact, for all they did in Series 5, they could have easily been killed off screen and no one would have noticed. Hopper, Jonathan, Will, Nancy and Robin were all characters who could have easily been splattered too, but the writers just bottled it. However, it was nice of Eleven's mate to show up though. All in all, Stranger Things 5 was an absolute car crash. A massive disappointment, with a finale so bad it's now been left up to YouTubers and fan fiction bloggers to polish this smelly runny turd. Unfortunately, some people just need to face facts. It was a badly written, ill thought out pile of steaming excrement.